This is a Dreamcast disc and is for use only on a Dreamcast unit. Playing this disc on a hi-fi or other audio equipment can cause serious damage to its speakers.
Dreamcast, up to 6 billion players.
Welcome back to the stage of history.
Why don't we play together?
Hey, it's time to make some crazy money. Are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.
Hello and welcome to episode 41 of the DreamPod. I'm your host today, Ross O'Reilly, and we have it's been a while, but we've got a few guests with us today from all across the world. First of all, to my left, we have Tom Sharnock.
Hello, Ross. I'm letting you present this one, and I'm hoping that you don't fuck it up. But no pressure. Carry on.
No pressure. Okay, hi Tom. Also from the States, we have Caleb.
Hello.
How's it going, Caleb?
I'm doing well.
And from the UK, we have Mike.
Hello.
How's it going?
Not too bad.
And we also have a very special guest today you may have heard of him. He has a fairly popular YouTube channel called Implant Games. Chris Genfy.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, good. It's a pleasure to have you on, to be honest, mate. Thank you for coming. First of all, we're going to do the usual thing we do at the beginning of all podcasts. Later on, we'll be doing... Well, it's best we just come clean, right? We planned to do a Halloween special last week, but various things went wrong. I think Tom forgot to pay the electricity Mumble or something. Is that right, Tom?
Something like that. No, there was a bit of an issue with Mumble and it wouldn't let us use it, and it was just a whole clusterfuck, so we just decided to just skip a week. And then I thought, if we do a belated Halloween, that's as good as, that's better than no Halloween. So,
Well, you'll have a chance to rectify your spending of the Patreon money on alcohol and cigarettes instead of the Mumble.
Don't forget the cocaine.
Subscription. And the cocaine, sorry. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, first of all, we'll start as we always do with what have you been up to? What have you been playing? And start with you, Tom. So, what have you been playing recently?
On the Dreamcast, not a massive amount. I did pick up a thing called What's Shenmue. That's the Shenmue preview disc thing where you can walk around and find Mr. Yukawa and look at some of the facial animation demos. That's quite cool. That was one thing I played on the Dreamcast. I have to be honest, I've not really played that much. One other thing I played it's kind of a Dreamcast game, is I don't know if you saw the story that I put up on the Dreamcast Junkyard about the lost Soul Calibur downloadable VMU game.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Basically, just to basically give people background if they don't know what I'm talking about, when Soul Calibur reached 1 million sales in Japan, Namco released a downloadable VMU game which would unlock a special secret costume in the main game for Voldo. And I couldn't find any information about this costume, what it looks like, or anything like that online. And it was only in a comment that somebody left on the Facebook page that I actually found out what this whole story was about. And then by looking through the Wayback Machine and speaking to a couple of other people who've got different websites, we managed to kind of basically mine the internet and find this VMU file. They were both hosted in different places. The VMU file and the VMI file, I think it's called, the two things that you need together to make a VMU game work. They were found in different places on really old defunct websites. So myself, a guy called Cyruk UK, I think his name is on Twitter. He runs MAME AU, an Australian website. He found the two different parts of the game. And then our friend Guacasaurus Mex, Tom Napier, the guy who's doing the Pokemon Go for the VMU, he combined them both down into an SD ISO for me, so I could use it on the SD reader, put it onto a VMU, and now I play the Voldo minigame on the VMU to try and unlock the secret costume. So it's been a bit of an adventure into the annals of history, trying to get this costume again. But that's what I'm kind of doing at the moment. So
yeah. That story sounds like it's like some sort of cursed VMU game that was like scattered across the internet.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, they released it on the Japanese website, and then because Dreamcast no longer exists, that's the Japanese version of like Dream Arena or SegaNet or whatever. The file no longer exists. But luckily, some of these other websites that hosted VMU files kept them, even though they're now gone. They still exist on the Wayback Machine. So it's kind of looking back in time and then like kind of finding these. It's like archaeology, basically. in a sense.
It sounds like a mystery worthy of the Barber quest, Tom.
Yeah. So that's what I've been doing on the Dreamcast, and on current gen stuff, I've been playing WRC 6 and also Drive Club on the PS4 because they released the new tracks, and that's still a great game. Love it. But that's enough from me.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Next up, Caleb, what have you been playing?
I have been selecting the next round of games for the retro video game tournament I am planning for Manchester, New Hampshire, which is the new city that I moved to. So I'm kind of narrowing down my focus and trying to figure out what games would capture the interest of the widest variety of people. So, of course, I'm going to have Soul Calibur in there. I'm going to see if there's any chance I can get a copy of Alice Dreams, though that's a long shot, obviously. And, I'm basically looking around to see what some weird ones might be that people might be interested in. For example, at a previous one, I had a version of Death Tank.
Oh, yeah.
The Death Tank version that came with the Duke Nukem on the Sega Saturn.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking for stuff like that most people never really played before or anything like that. So
good luck getting a copy of Alice Dreams if you do. Let me know. I did speak to the guys a few weeks ago asking if I could get a copy for Play Manchester a few weeks back, but they first of all they said yes, and then they kind of stopped replying to my emails. So I don't know what happened there, but
that Manchester's way bigger than my Manchester, so I don't know.
We were going to mention it later, but as soon as we've touched on it now, we may as well run with it now, I suppose. There was a update on their Kickstarter account on the 15th of October saying the development of the game at least, had been finished, and there was an image of the final design for the cover and everything, so it does look like it's coming soon, at least. Cool. I suppose, if that's any.
Excellent.
Yeah. Has anyone ordered it already, or did anyone?
Yep, I did.
Oh, well, just about all of us then. Okay, well, look forward to that. Okay, anyway, Mike, what have you been playing?
So I've been doing the top 200 list on the blog. So I'm having a break from Dreamcast games for a few weeks.
That's understandable.
Yeah, so I played through a few that I hadn't played before. So I played Test Drive 6. I've never played it before. I'm not going to play it again. It was terrible. And I played Fighting Force 2 because some idiot voted for it for the
that is awful
list, and I literally hate it more than I did it before. No,
Mike, can I just say, Mike, as well, just massive congratulations and well done for that list because it's phenomenal.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant work.
And on the modern gen consoles, I went on a bit of a spending splurge and I bought like 10 games I hadn't played. So I've been playing Battlefield 1 quite a lot last week.
Do you get to play as a carrier pigeon in that game?
You do.
Really?
Yeah, you do. What? You do, yeah.
I was kidding.
No,
but,
you do. You actually do play as a carrier pigeon. There's a mission in one of the stories, and you actually play as a pigeon flying back to base.
That's amazing.
That's pretty cool, to be fair.
It's not great, but
lastly, Chris Genfi, we will be talking a bit more about your website in just a moment, but first of all, what have you been playing?
I have been playing 4 games the last couple of weeks. The first one being the original Sonic the Hedgehog on the Genesis, and I finally, after 20 years, was able to get all 6 Chaos Emeralds and get the good ending, so that was kind of a big achievement for my game playing life.
That's something I've never done that. So congratulations.
As a small child, I basically got everything except for the underwater one in Sonic 2 on the Game Gear, and like I didn't understand why I didn't get the good ending. And it's just like,
I will say the getting the good ending for the first time was a very disappointing experience. It's not very different. But it was cool.
I remember thinking when I was a kid and I first got the good ending, it looks like Sonic's running along wearing a pair of white undies, like a pair of white pants, but they're actually the Chaos Emeralds. So it looks like a nappy or something. Like,
I need to look at that now. I've never seen that.
Well, that's what my childish mind thought of anyway.
I didn't even get to enjoy it. I was recording it, so I actually thought there were 7 emeralds. So when I got to the end of the game, I was doing something else, and I started playing all over again. And then a buddy of mine's like, no, 6. There's only 6, you idiot. So then I went back and reviewed the footage and realized, oh, I actually beat the game and I didn't even notice. So I didn't get to enjoy it. I had to watch the replay of the achievement.
I think from the second game there's 7, isn't there? But yeah, the first one only 6. Don't know why.
So I am the worst Sonic the Hedgehog fanboy ever, but that's all right. The next game I've been playing a lot of Xbox games lately. I find a lot of Xbox games are 99 cents in my area, at least, which is kind of nice.
Good, man. They used to be, yeah. So good on you, because they used to be cheap here and no longer.
Yeah, I still find a lot of dollar games at the local shops, which is great. One of them being Van Helsing for the Xbox. And this is kind of like an action. It's not a genre I'm super familiar with. I think I've heard it compared to Devil May Cry. So I've been having a lot of fun with Van Helsing on the Xbox. Haven't beat it yet. Another classic game that I'm finally getting around to is Rayman Origins on the Vita, which I'm playing on the PlayStation TV.
Yeah, great game.
This is, I'm a big Rayman fan. Someone mentioned the Jaguar and, before we started recording. So I've been a fan of Rayman since then, so it was kind of fun to revisit a true 2D platformer. It really reminds me of the new Super Mario Brother games in a way, which I'm a big fan of. So that's been fun. And then finally, Batman Returns on the Master System, which was a European exclusive, but somebody sent this to me as a gift, which was pretty awesome. And this is an awesome 8-bit action game. So if you're looking for a fun Master System game, especially if you're in the US and you want to visit some of those European exclusives, Batman Returns, awesome. Good soundtrack, really solid controls, good level design. I like the weapons. Everything about it is just pretty sweet. So that's a good Master System game to check out.
Just going back to Rayman, did you see the recent the creator of Rayman found the original game for the Super Nintendo?
I did stumble upon that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I love the way how the character looks so different, and then obviously he evolved to become what he is today. I thought it was really interesting. It would have been interesting to see how it ran on the Super Nintendo.
It was, what did he do? Like find it in his closet or something bizarre like that? Yeah, I've just had this huge piece of history sitting in my closet for the last 25 years. So weird.
Something similar to that. It's not really come to anything as of yet, but the guy Micah, he's a developer. He was teasing online. It must be about 2 years ago now that he'd found a load of stuff regarding the long lost Jaguar version of Bomberman. So his brother apparently has it now, and they're trying to do something with it, but nothing's been seen of it since 2014 now. So I was hoping that it would be released, but as of yet, nothing. So that's one to look out for, hopefully in the future. What have you been playing, Ross?
Oh, yeah, me. Oh, what have I been playing? To be honest, after that, I've not really got... Well, to be honest, I've not played a lot recently. I did play the new expansion for World of Warcraft a bit. I've not played the game for 10 years. 10 years?
Is that the one with the pandas?
7 years. No, that's Mr.
Am I behind a little bit?
Pandora, that was... Pandaria, that was years ago.
Is that the one with the werewolves with the top
No.
hats?
No. This one,
the one where the dragon came in and destroyed everything?
No, that's Cataclysm, isn't it?
Is that the one where the orcs and the humans had a war?
Lord of the Rings, wasn't it?
I'm talking about the first game on DOS.
No. This is called World of Warcraft Legion or Legions, and like I said, I've not played for 7 years, so I'd kind of like completely forgotten about the game and. The last few expansion packs, they haven't got great reviews, and people have slowly been moving away from the game over the last 5 to 10 years. But this new expansion has brought a lot of people back to the game, and the reviews have been positive. So I thought, I'll give it a go. And it's quite weird. It was like going back to a place I used to live that I haven't been for 5 years. It was quite interesting, but I didn't play a huge amount. And the reason I've not played much this month is because it's a bit of a confession here. I've got totally into Star Trek, which I never thought.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong.
I never thought would happen to me.
There is nothing wrong with that.
It just caught me off guard. I just started watching Next Generation.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, there's nothing. There's nothing.
Did you tell your family yet?
No.
Are you waiting for...
Let's not start...
Yeah, you don't want to ruin the holidays with the news like that. Oh, my God.
But my girlfriend's in on it as well. We've sat down and we've been watching every episode of the Next Generation from episode 1.
Oh man! Hey, dude, if you need to like talk to somebody or something, man, just let me know on Facebook.
Ignore Caleb's disgusting anti-Star Trek.
We've got all the way up to halfway through the fourth season in like the space of a month, and we're watching it.
How many seasons are there?
7. 179 episodes.
I quite like Next Generation. It's all right.
Yeah.
I can't really tie that in. There's no way I can tie that in for Dreamcast, except there was one unreleased Star Trek game for the Dreamcast that
New World?
came off PC. I don't know much about it, but
New Worlds, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, it was. It was. It was like it was a real-time strategy game, wasn't it? Yeah.
I'm a massive Trekkie. I am literally. I learned Klingon when I was at school. I am that much a Trekkie.
Okay.
Can you speak Klingon? Can you speak?
I
it?
can't
Can you
speak
now?
much now, Tom. No, I can't. The microphone's poor quality, unfortunately.
Oh, right. Is that the only reason? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, anyway, seeing as this is for Dreamcast Junkyard and not anything to do with Star Trek,
Star Trek Junkyard would be amazing. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. And maybe I did it a bit backwards, but we need to give our special guest a bit more of a introduction and welcome to the cast. Some of you may have already seen his content on YouTube. Some of you may not have. He runs a website, YouTube channel, and podcast focused on retro gaming, and he's a big fan of the Dreamcast. And like Tommy, I don't know why, but he's a bit of a Jaguar fan for some reason. I'm not sure why. But yeah, he covers a lot of Sega stuff, especially for Dreamcast. And he also does a series of videos I'm particularly fond of called How to XRGB Mini. Hi, Chris, again. So how did you get into the website? Did the website come first, or did the YouTube videos come first? How did it all come about?
The website came first. It was actually, and I don't want to bash anybody, but there's a really awful review of, I think, Motocross Championship on Sega 16 for the Sega 32X. And it was a review that I really thought was poorly done. It was clear the person that wrote it only played the game for 10 minutes and then just bashed it, in a 500-word essay. And that kind of inspired me to start writing about classic video games. And that particular instance is actually how the website began. And then in the 2009-2010 era, YouTube started getting popular. Classic Game Room, of course, Angry Video Game Nerd, the same things that inspired everybody else around that time.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me inspired to, take that writing and actually put video to it. So it's a pretty normal story that everybody else has that, started a YouTube channel in 2009 or 2010 or what have you. You saw someone else could do it and you thought, well, I could do that. Why can't that be me? And that's how it kind of got going.
I'm actually looking at the review now that started it all, the Motocross Championship review on Sega 16.
Yes.
Yeah, they give it 3 out of 10. Yeah, I didn't think a game could be as bad as what's the one on the Jaguar called?
Supercross 3D.
Yeah. God, that's terrible. I mean, yeah. No.
So no, I'm a big fan of the Sega 16 website. I'm a big fan of the Sega 16 forums. It's a great community of Sega fans, but that review is pretty. It's not. There is no insight to be gleaned if you do read that review.
I think there was a time period when a lot of people were just going negative because they thought it was entertaining, or maybe because they thought that's what would give them attention, or they would be considered as their constructive criticism or something. When in fact they're just kind of trying to trash games.
Well, it's unfortunate too because. And I try to think of that whenever I write or say something that's more serious, is like you're kind of adding to the history and to the legacy of that game. And I feel some of those, things should be treated with a bit more respect. Even if it is just a silly, below average video game, that is how the game's going to be viewed, from here on out. So
I'm just looking at your website, actually. I mean, I obviously I've got previous history of viewing your videos and looking at your website. I love how you kind of go into the more obscure. I love obscurity and things that maybe everyone's not seen before, so I love looking at, some of the video titles that you've got here, just going into how to use it. I watched your Game Boy Player and component cables video earlier today, and I was just mind blown that I didn't even know that there was like an SD reader thing for the GameCube.
That I didn't know that existed either. The GameCube is not part of my area of expertise, but whenever you put something out on YouTube, somebody will be like, "Oh, why didn't you do this?" and kind of brings that to my attention. So yeah, I guess I assume what the GameCube folks do now is they use this SD card reader, which is like $20, and you can play Game Boy Advance games using the Game Boy Player, and with that software, through the SD, I don't know what it's called, have a much better experience playing Game Boy Advance games and Game Boy Color games on the GameCube and Homebrew and all of that.
Just to clarify, is this an SD card for like a Game Boy Advance version of the EverDrive, or is it an actual GameCube version?
Let me back up a bit. So the the GameCube, of course, has a Game Boy player, so you can play Game Boy games on your television, similar to like the
I've got one.
The Super
myself,
Game.
Yeah.
So, but what people do now, the homebrew scene on the GameCube, there's an SD card adapter that you plug into the memory card slot, and then you can play homebrew. So there's a homebrew app that kind of replaces the official software that Nintendo provided with the Game Boy player. So instead of using that disc that came with the Game Boy player, you load some, I think it's an emulator on the SD card, and then you play the game that way, which gives you access to like 240p, correct colors, less jittering and stutters. So basically it's like a homebrew emulator for the GameCube to play Game Boy games using the Game Boy player, if that makes more sense.
Yeah, interesting.
That's awesome.
Never heard of it. Yeah. There you go. So it's clear from having a look at your YouTube videos that you're a big Sega fan, and am I right in saying particularly a Dreamcast fan?
The Dreamcast I would consider my favorite game system easily. I'm sure like all of you or most of you, we played it back in 1999. I got mine on launch day and, instantly fell in love. Marked, the end of kind of the arcade era, the classic era of gaming that I love so much. I feel like with the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube, gaming really kind of went in a different direction, and those, 90s experiences from Sega and Midway kind of went by the wayside. So the Dreamcast to me has always been my favorite system. It has most of my favorite games. Obviously, I'm not afraid to venture out and play other systems or anything, but yeah, the Dreamcast always have a special place in my heart for sure.
One of your Dreamcast related videos, the 60 frames a second racing games, that was really interesting. I really enjoyed that video, to be honest.
That's another neat thing about the Dreamcast compared to the PlayStation or the Nintendo 64, was finally it felt like, those arcade games were finally doable on a home console, and it's really fun to go back and look at what Dreamcast games could be run at 60 frames per second. I find, especially in racing games, but even platformers, that increase in frame rate is part of what made the Dreamcast so much better graphically and visually than the PlayStation and N64. Going back and playing an N64 game, even like Beetle Adventure Racing or something that's really loved, I find the poor frame rate really dampers my enjoyment.
Speaking of bad frame rates in N64 racing games, did you ever play GT64?
I have not, no.
Well, I'd recommend playing it just to see how bad N64 games can get.
It's, even playing something like Perfect Dark, it's like, man, this is just really hard to slog through. And then you go back and you play like F-Zero X on the N64, and it plays every bit as good today as it did back then, but it runs at 60 frames per second.
Did you see the news about the F-Zero for the Wii U, the re-release for the Virtual Console running at 60 frames per second?
No, I missed it.
Yeah, obviously the N64 version, the PAL version, I don't think it runs at 60, I think it runs at 30, I might be getting that wrong, but there's a big story in the news that the new version on the Wii U Virtual Console was going to be the NTSC version running at full speed, so yeah, that's going to be...
So that will be the first time people in Europe have been able to experience the 60 frames per second F-Zero X, at least officially?
Yeah, correct.
It's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. One of the videos I quite liked of yours, or at least I loved reading the comments, was the Sonic Adventure 2 review, because you got a bit of hate for that.
Oh, I got murdered, yes. That is by far my most disliked video ever. And even looking at your top 200 Dreamcast games, I did notice Sonic Adventure 2 it's in the top 10.
Yeah, there was a couple of comments on Facebook from people who said, "Oh, why are the two Sonic games in the top 10?" And they're like, "We didn't create the list. The people voted. They spoke."
It's clear the Sonic Adventure 2 has its fans, and I cannot say that I am one of them. I just don't see it.
I think I'd agree. The Sonic and Shadow levels are great, but the rest of the game leaves a lot to be desired, especially the Knuckles and Rouge, whatever her name is.
Rouge,
those levels are not fun at all, and impossible, near enough impossible to do without being very, very lucky or cheating by deliberately playing. And
it's going through people. The hardest thing about making videos is that all I can do is offer my perspective and the experience that I had. And I'm sorry if my experience doesn't match your experience. But that doesn't necessarily make me wrong. There's definitely, it's kind of like going back, and I guess it's ironic in a way, talking about Motocross Championship on the 32X. Obviously, I was kind of upset that would be the game's legacy. So I can certainly see if I say, Sonic Adventure 2 is a bad game and this is why, else getting upset at me that I'm ruining that game's legacy. So, I could definitely see where people get frustrated or annoyed.
The thing that got me into your channel was maybe about a year ago. I'm not sure, actually, between half a year and a year ago, I bought an XRGB Mini, and I was searching YouTube for videos that people had made with recommendations for settings, etc. And that's how I found your channel. And one of the biggest problems at the time for me was I had no idea how I could get the Dreamcast to run through this thing, because it doesn't have a VGA cable. So how did you get into the XRGB Mini? When did you first hear about it? And actually, seeing as you're the expert, would you just quickly explain to our listeners what the XRGB Mini is? I think most people will know, but...
Yeah, the XRGB Mini Framemeister. I think the kids call it the Framemeister now. That's something that seems to have really changed with the My Life in Gaming, really taking off. The Framemeister is a video scaler, and what it's really good for is things like the Genesis, the TurboGrafx, the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, those old 240p games that modern equipment really can't handle correctly. And it does an awesome job taking those systems and upscaling them to 720p or 1080p. The original intent really is to play it on a modern monitor, but YouTubers have discovered that this is a really good way, to add to the tool chain, to have awesome looking footage for their YouTube channels and streaming and things like that. It's their fourth scaler, I want to say. It's a Japanese company called Microsoft. They've been around since the 90s. They've made Genesis accessories back in the day, or Mega Drive accessories. So they've had the XRGB, the 2, the 3, and then the Framemeister really seemed to be the device, really came at the right time, and it's been insanely successful as far as I can tell. Trying to keep track of the serial numbers, it seems they've sold over 10,000 now, which is kind of amazing for a really niche video scaling device aimed at a niche crowd, the retro gaming market. So It's a really, really good video scaler is what it is.
I've often looked at getting one, but the price there seems to be prohibitive. Certainly to me, it seems very expensive.
Yeah,
I think right now if you were buying it, it's around $400. I have one of the very first ones. I bought it right when it came out. I think I have like the 147th one off the assembly line. So I paid $500 for it. For me, value is different to everybody, and I can certainly see that, a video scaler is not for everyone. Myself, I've more than gotten my $500 worth of value out of the device. It really has enhanced my view and enjoyment of classic gaming, revisiting, Genesis games and seeing them kind of the way the developers actually made them has really made me fall in love with classic games all over again. So for me, it's been an awesome, purchase and something that I very much enjoy. And, that brought me to this podcast. That's how you discovered the channel. So that's kind of neat too.
Very odd. I could have sworn they'd gone down in price, and I think I paid less than $300. I'm in Japan though, so that might be why I managed to get cheaper. But I just checked on Amazon, and it's 40,000 yen, which is about $400. So I don't know what's happened to the price there. Or maybe I'm mistaken.
No, it has. It's gone as low as 300 on Amazon, like you've said. I don't know if that's a currency conversion thing with the yen and the US dollar, but yeah, it has gone as low as 300, and right now is sitting at about 400.
How did you find out? How did you solve the problem of connecting the Dreamcast up to the Framemeister? Because like we said, there's no VGA port. So I mean, if you want to run it in RGB 240p, you can do, but there was no way to run it in 480p. How did you find out solve that problem?
So there's been devices. Well, let's see. I think it's the I don't know, the Junker HQ wiki. I don't know what it's called, but they kind of hinted that the front RGB port on the Framemeister could accept a 480p 31 kilohertz signal over SCART. It's not VGA, but it's close. And that's when I stumbled upon this company in Turkey called, I think BBS or something like that. And this guy made a little box that would convert a VGA signal into a 31 kilohertz RGB signal that could be used with the FrameMeister. So I actually emailed I went to buy this and the guy said, I don't have this in stock anymore, but I'm working on this new thing. It'll be available in a month or so called the Toro. And this kind of simplifies the entire process. So the Toro VGA box from this small little company in Turkey is kind of the missing link.
Yeah, the brothers.
the Biharboros, I don't know how to say it, but yeah, that's what it is. And so I think most people that want to use the Dreamcast with the FrameMeister probably have a Toro. Does anyone here have a FrameMeister, or am I all alone here?
Yeah, I've got a FrameMeister and a Toro, yeah. Because of watching your videos, basically.
Awesome. So yeah, the Toro VGA box is exactly what it sounds like. It's a VGA box, plugs into the back of the Dreamcast. It has a VGA connector, so you could connect that to an old CRT monitor, which looks amazing. Hook it up to a modern or less modern flat panel that might still have a VGA input. And then there's also a SCART connector on it as well that you can connect right up to the FrameMeister, and it looks pretty fantastic. So that's kind of the journey. It started with the FrameMeister and then this little company in Turkey, and yeah, ends with the Toro.
All I've got in terms of looking for the best image is an old Taxan CRT PC monitor and a cheap VGA cable from eBay that cost me £5.
Awesome.
And that seems to work just fine.
It works just fine, but I don't have a way to, having a YouTube channel kind of changes things a bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I do remember, in 2000, buying a VGA box and hooking the Dreamcast up to it and being absolutely blown away. Like, oh my, I did not know the Dreamcast could look like this. It was really a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah, just looking at the actual Dreamcast main menu screen, it's like, oh wow, this looks like a lot better.
Especially here in the States, just using composite, which, seemed fine at the time, and we were all excited. We don't have jaggies like those PS2 people. And then, now looking at the blurry mess that is Dreamcast composite video, it's, a lot's changed.
If I could talk about my setup for a second, I actually have the Adam Koralik Special, which is, I have both the Haas VGA box and I have a Kuro as well, and I hook that up into the Lansing HDMI converter. Okay. That's what I use to do it. But there's some little things that I still haven't quite worked out because I haven't actually put the work into getting the best thing out of it. But yeah, and then I record using just a PVR2.
I apologize. I actually am not familiar with your YouTube channel, and I've listened to this podcast. I've heard you a few times, but I guess I missed it.
The thing is, I've kind of stopped. I've kind of stopped doing the Dreamcast stuff. I think the last thing I did was Volgar the Viking was the last one that I did video.
Don't forget the world premiere of the playing House of the Dead 2 on a Game Gear screen.
And I also did a video where I played House of the Dead 2 on a Game Gear screen, or attempted to at least.
I'm going to guess the light gun didn't work.
It didn't work all that great.
Okay.
What about you, Mike? What's your setup then what's your best setup you've ever?
I've got a Dreamcast, I got a TV, and I got a cable between the two of them. Old
school.
I've got a VJ box.
Okay.
A standard VJ box. I have no idea what it's called. I have no idea what we're talking about. I have not technically minded in the slightest.
So it does the job.
So for some reason, I have a drawer full of Dreamcast RF cables, and I don't know what to do with them. So if anybody wants some Dreamcast RF cables, leave us a comment.
I still have some still in the GameStop used packaging, which when GameStop finally pennied out their Dreamcast stuff, I bought a bunch of RF cables for some reason.
And those are no longer worth a penny. Like a lot of people, probably 5 or even longer. I did buy, that cheap $30 box that you can buy pretty much anywhere, a VGA to HDMI converter. But I did notice, right away that there were games that you couldn't play with it, like Metropolis Street Racer. It really crushed blacks, and that's kind of what made me want to find the Toro. Is there were games just using a normal VGA to HDMI converter that I couldn't play. And that brought me to the Toro, and the the rest is history. But things like that really, the Dreamcast VGA output, something about it is very weird or non-standard and very hard to capture. But
sorry, the resolution is instead of the regular, what is it? Usually it's 600 lines of horizontal resolution, and instead of Dreamcast actually outputs in 720 again.
Yeah, the Dreamcast does what other not like game consoles do, which is like 720 by 480 instead of 640 by 480. So that confuses a lot of things as well. Like if you ever hooked a Dreamcast just straight up to a VGA monitor, you probably noticed everything was kind of skinny.
That's what happened with my television, and there was no like manual setting. You could only choose between 4:3 or 16 by 9, and that was it. There was nothing else you could do. So another reason I wanted to get the setup sorted for the XRGB Mini so that I could play it at the regular ratio.
4:3, yeah, exactly. Circles are circles instead of ovals.
But yeah, okay, let's move. We've spent quite a while on that segment, so let's move on.
Well, can I actually ask one other quick question? So when getting signals out of like other, say you wanted to get like, I do want to eventually do a video on the on the video game D for the Sega Saturn.
Yes,
and I want to try to get captured video off that. And I have my PVR 2. And I think the best way to get video off of it is somebody said if you go and you feed the video through either a DVR or a DVD recorder and then go into the PVR 2, you'll get decent video footage off that. Or am I thinking of the older consoles and it might be better off just to try just hooking it directly up to the PVR 2?
I have no idea.
Yeah. If anybody out there wants to let me know afterwards, you'll get my YouTube comments in the ending segment. Just let me know, because I'm just trying to figure out what the best way is, other than maybe just using an emulator on the PC, just to get like really good footage from the Sega Saturn.
That said, Caleb, I mean, D on the Sega Saturn, the video footage is not that great anyway. It's full of artifacts and
I am quite certain with D that they took the rendered video, put it on a VHS tape, cranked the sharpness way up, and then redigitized the video because it looks awful. I have it on the 3DO, but it doesn't matter. It's a really bizarre looking video effect that they achieved with D. But I wanted to say that you have impeccable taste. I love D.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just one of those games where I played D2 like all the way and I loved it so much, and it's like I just really want to try out D one of these days. Just sit down, square away a couple hours, and just try to beat the game. Try to beat the game without knowing anything about it, without knowing any of the like what you actually are supposed to do. Just try to beat it, just going blind. And it's one of those games where it's like you don't. As far as I know, like I don't think you have a save state. I think you just have to play it all the way through.
Zero saving.
Talking of D, gentlemen, that's a perfect segue for our main feature today. Well, it's going to be a Halloween.
Our job here is done.
It's not Halloween, so we can't do it. We're going to talk about our favorite horror or survival horror games, anything that you could associate with Halloween or things that scare you, etc., etc. Those type of games. We're going to go round in a circle like we usually do with our honorable mentions, least favorite or most hated game, depending on how you want to put it, and our favorite game. And we're going to start with you, Tom. What is your honorable mention for horror/survival horror/Halloween-related games on the Dreamcast?
Well, I'm going to go with the Typing of the Dead. I know it's not really a horror game; it's more of a comedy. But it's just because it's so ridiculous, and it's also the combinations of words that it throws up when you are typing away. And you look at when was it Play Manchester recently? We had it set up with the keyboard and everything, and you'd be playing it. You'd look up at the screen, and there'd be some like ridiculous word like snot bubble. And then you type that, and then you look up again, and it'd be something else like Vicar's beard or something. And they're like, what? Where are they getting these words from? But yeah, I know it's not really a horror game. As I say, it's more of a comedy. But it's got to be.
Righto, that is definitely one of the games I'm going to set up for my retro video game tournament.
Oh, you've got to.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I've actually got the Japanese version of that game, so I've played it in Japanese, which is the same as English, except you're typing in Japanese words, of course. So if the regular English version is not quite difficult enough for you, if you want to be really hardcore, try the Japanese version. There you go. Okay, Caleb, what's your pick?
I gotta say, my pick for runner-up or game that's pretty much not quite good enough to be my favorite, it'd have to be Carrier. Just because it's it's an interesting game, survival horror, lovely tank controls. But it's just, there's a couple things in there which just makes it a little bit too clunky for it to be a proper, first pick. But it is something that I have personal affinity for. So, and you get the cool spiky enemies that look like they're straight out of Resident Evil 4. So
yeah, that's one of the overriding memories of Carrier for me is the enemies when they kind of turn into spiky things and try and stab you. That's quite cool.
Okay, and Mike.
So I'm going to pick, I think I've picked this game before on another podcast, Vampire Chronicle, which obviously isn't survival horror, but it's Halloween themed. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic sort of mix of classic horror characters and settings. Perfect game to play on Halloween.
Yes, the classic horror character of the cat lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's quite funny actually because if you look at, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the line of dolls called Monster High dolls.
No.
I only know because I work in a shop, obviously not because I'm a collector of these things. But all the characters, all the female characters in this line of dolls remind me so much of the characters in Darkstalkers. Vampire Chronicle, sorry. There you go, given the wrong name.
I've owned the game and I've played it a bit. I did enjoy it, but it didn't. Something about it didn't get me like the Street Fighter series or other Capcom fighters have. But it's definitely an interesting one. And I think I always had something against it a bit because Capcom vs SNK2, the single worst sprite in that game was the Morrigan sprite, and it took Capcom 15 years to bother redrawing it. But no, okay, thanks, Chris.
My honorable mention was also Typing of the Dead.
Nice.
So
that's cool.
Coming at it from a different angle, Typing of the Dead is another reason I think that the Dreamcast is such a special system is because nobody but Sega would ever bring a typing game with zombies to the Sega Dreamcast or arcades. It's a very Sega experience. It's very innovative, and that is why I love that game.
To consoles, it's very unusual. But the original House of the Dead, there is a typing version of that on PC, and I think one of the more recent ones also got a typing version released on PC. But it's very strange, like you say, to be on a console a typing game. It's not something you associate with consoles at all.
You get typing the Dead overkills on Steam.
That's how I was thinking of Overkill.
Ross, can we just dial that back a second? Did you say the original House of the Dead is also on the PC with typing mode? I didn't know that. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it's called because
Typing of the Dead.
Well, yeah, but typing of House of the Dead 2's typing game was just called Typing of the Dead, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't called Typing of the Dead 2, or was it?
No.
So I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Maybe.
Cool. Anyway, Ross, what's your honourable mention?
My honourable mention. This is the single most creepy game on the Dreamcast. I'm sure you'll all agree. Seaman. Nothing comes close to the creepy weirdness, the horror, the sheer horror of Seaman on the Dreamcast. And I remember when I first got it, because we didn't get it in Europe.
No.
And I think it was partly because of all the different languages in Europe, and also it would just be too much work to get it to recognise all the various accents in England or in the UK.
In the UK alone, Scottish, Welsh,
Yeah, comparing that to the potential money they could make from it, it just wasn't worth it. So I imported it from America, and I remember late at night I was playing it, probably owned or whatever. I was just playing it at home when I was maybe 18, 19 years old, and my mum came downstairs. Ross, who are you talking to? I'm just talking to this fish with a human face. He's asking me about my birthday. Things like this. But for me, at least, it was an absolute nightmare to get the thing to understand what I was saying. Did anyone else?
It never worked as well as everybody pretends it does.
And I found I had to put on a fake American accent to get it to understand me, and the same thing happened. Because I'm in Japan, the Xbox One didn't get a release here straight away, so I imported my Xbox One from America, and when it came, I tried to use the voice commands on it, and it just wouldn't understand me, and then it clicked.
Why, hello, Xbox.
I
I'm
remember
an American.
my experience with Seaman, and I was like, Xbox, turn on, and straight away, boom.
Oh, it's so great! It's so great to hear that. It's like a bag at home.
I had the same issue with do you remember was it Dr. Kawajima's brain training on the DS? When you had to say different colours, and it wouldn't understand when I was trying to say the word yellow, so I had to go yellow, yellow, and then it would understand me.
Okay, well, moving on. Next, that was very quick. We got through that quicker than I expected, to be honest. But okay, next, our most hated, or at least our least favourite horror/Halloween related game on the Dreamcast. Tom.
Yeah, cool. Okay, this is quite easy for me. My most hated survival horror game on the Dreamcast is The Ring: Terror's Realm, just because it's so goddamn boring, and also it didn't really have a lot to do with the series it's based on, the films, The Ring. And yeah, I just found it to be very run-of-the-mill Resident Evil clone, which did have a few nice touches. For example, this is going to sound really shallow, but when you kind of spin around the character and the torch kind of passes past the camera, you get this nice lens flare effect, which I thought was really well done. But that's probably about the only positive thing I've got to say about that game, to be honest. It's so dull. The Ring, Terror's Realm, very boring.
I'm just imagining a review. Negatives, like a long list. Positives, nice lens flare effects on that.
Well, I did actually do an article on it for the Dreamcast Junkyard some time ago. Must have been about 2 years ago now, and I basically said that the reason why the film The Ring, or the original film, was so effective was because it was kind of based in the modern world, but everybody felt so kind of disconnected and lonely, and that was the thing. But this game, it's just all of that atmosphere is gone because you've got this weird like lift music playing all the time, and the woman who you play as, she just kind of walks around in this kind of weird, badly animated, almost wooden state. It's terrible game. But yeah, that's my choice.
And the cutscenes of her face is just wow.
Yes, how did I forget those? Oh my god, it's like really, really bargain basement like CGI renders. Oh, terrible stuff. Really worth playing just to see how bad it is, to be honest.
Yeah, I've not had the displeasure of playing that one. Don't think I will after that review. But okay, Caleb, what's your pick?
For worst, I gotta bring out a game that I thought would have been really nice, but I just could not get through it, and I still can't get through it, is Nightmare Creatures 2.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The things that should make it interesting just make it just tedious. Like, there's little death animations which are the same every single time you do it, and it takes like a couple seconds every single time you do it, and it's just like it seems like there's some design choices that just made it very like just not fun to get through that first part, and I just haven't been able to. So
when I did my top 10 worst games for the Dreamcast list a few months ago, that game featured heavily just because it's probably one of the laziest PlayStation ports that there is. I mean, it doesn't even remove the pixelation from the PlayStation game. So you've just got this like mess of, bad textures and warping polygons. And also one of the best things that it actually does is the scale of the enemies changes as the camera spins around. So they can look really small in front of you, but then as the camera spins around, it kind of grows to room size. It's just really bizarre. It's one of the oddest visual effects I've ever seen in a game. It's obviously down to bad programming, but yeah, it's worth checking out again just for that, I would say.
Yeah, I never played that one, but I do have a faint memory of, I think one of the UK magazines, it was the only game I ever saw got either 1 out of 10 or like 10%. One of the worst reviews I've ever read. I was like, nah, I'm staying clear of that.
Dreamcast magazine, the unofficial Dreamcast magazine, ranked it alongside Spirit of Speed 1937 as the worst game on the Dreamcast. So
that's a favourite of a Junkyard.
Yeah. How many copies did it sell, Mike? Was it 87 or something?
Yeah, in Japan. Yeah.
I've got one of them. So there you go.
So yeah, there's only 86 left in the world.
I got one of them. I got one of them as well. So there's 85 left.
Oh, right, 85. It's going down.
Mike, what's your pick?
So Tom stole my pick, but I'm going to. No, I know.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm going to pick one a little bit. I don't know if you can class it as horror, but when I was writing the top 200, this is the one I had the most trouble, apart from Fighting Force, to do a description of, which is Kiss Psycho Circus. I love first-person shooters. I was a big PC gamer back in the day. I love, heavy metal music. I don't like Kiss, but that's neither here nor there. It's just terrible. If the game is just boring, and the thing which annoyed me most is that they don't even have an entire Kiss soundtrack on there. you have to go to little I think it's jukeboxes, isn't it? And you have to play little snippets, like 10 seconds of a song. And what the hell's that about? You know what I mean? They could have made the game better by having Gene Simmons appear with a massive tongue-based weapon. That didn't happen either. It's like every missed opportunity they could have, and it's just a boring game. I think the Dreamcast had a real issue where they had some amazing first-person shooter games. You know, we had Quake, we had Unreal Tournament, but we had really, really poor mid-level PC ports like Soldier of Fortune and Kiss, and they just don't play well on Dreamcast.
I think Kiss was on one of the demo discs, wasn't it? And I remember being a school still, I had very little money, but I would buy that magazine every month, and no matter how bad the demos were, I would play every single one to completion multiple times. But other than Ducati Racing, that we've also mentioned before, I think Kiss Psycho Circus was the only one that, like, after 10-20 minutes, I was like, no, I can't do it. Just can't play this anymore.
I remember with Kiss Psycho Circus, there's a stage that you got to where you were kind of on this big bookshelf. And I was just, I was, what am I playing here? Like, what is this? You know, it's terrible. Like walking in between the books on the shelves, like, and it's like Alice in Wonderland type thing, which is not. I'm not slagging it for being inventive, but it's just poor with them weird spider things and clown faces.
It's just there were so many better first-person shooters to come over, which we never got. You know, things like Half-Life, obviously the biggest obvious choice, but we had so many we missed out on, and we had things like Kiss, which is just terrible.
Why didn't they bring something like Kingpin?
Kingpin would have been amazing, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Chris?
This pick is not because I think it's the worst game on the Dreamcast. I'm just not that familiar with horror games, if I'm honest. And that is going to be Blue Stinger.
Yeah.
Nice.
This was a launch game, at least in the US, so I got it right away, and I honestly just could not get very far in the game. It was too confusing to try and make your way through it. It didn't seem like the game sort of told you where to go next, and then really clumsy combat with a really bizarre camera just made it really, really tough for me to keep slogging through. And to this day, I've just never gotten that far in Blue Stinger because it's too impossible for me to play anyway.
Well, you actually completed Sonic the Hedgehog with a good ending. I never, but I did complete Blue Stinger.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stand up for Blue Stinger.
Yeah, I know it has its fans.
Blue Stinger, I liked it.
Yeah, it's my experience.
But to be honest, I got it in. Yeah, it was one of the launch games. And I got my DC with Power Stone and Sonic Adventure. And then a few weeks later, I was like, I want to play something else. I want to try something new. And I think I wasn't really into race games. And Soul Calibur wasn't a launch game over here. So I was like, I think I'll try this Blue Stinger. It got okay reviews. And I tried it. And I missed out on the 32/64-bit generation entirely. So this was one of the first, or it was the first, like, survival horror game I ever played. And I remember being very, very careful with all my ammo. And I basically used the baseball bat for the entire game. And then at the end of the game, I had, like, way too much, like, my whole inventory was just full of all these weapons and ammo that I never used. But I enjoyed it, although, of course, the acting's terrible. And if I played it now, it probably is a bit of a case of rose-tinted specs. If I played it now, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did 15 years ago.
Did you ever do the trick where you could kind of just keep going in and out of the same rooms and the baddies would reappear and you could just keep killing them and getting all the money?
Yeah, the money.
Yeah. You could buy cans. What was that drink? Hassie, the drink. The health drink, Hassie. Why do I remember that? I don't know.
I can't remember. But I do remember there was, like, product placement of Pen Triathlon around.
Yeah.
Yes.
An ice
strange
cream thing, wasn't it? Wasn't it in one of the shops in an ice cream fridge?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there's a couple of different games with product placement for other games in them, or at least rip-offs. I know that Fair Fighters has a lot of, like, mock-up posters in some of the levels, like for what are the games? Resident Weevil was one of them. And it wasn't there like a Metropolis Street Racer knockoff in one of the shop windows. That's just something that came back to me, my memory. But product placement in other games, cool. Did you see, on that subject, sorry, I know we're going off topic a little bit, did you ever see the PlayStation branding in Formula 1 World Grand Prix? You know, you get the gallery mode, you can actually, like, spin the cars around and have a look at them. Mm-hmm. You can zoom right in and they've all got PlayStation branding on them, on the actual teams, so that was interesting, because you would have thought they'd remove that, but no.
Thanks, Chris. And no, I do appreciate it's probably not as good a game as I remember, and a lot of people don't like it, so thanks for that. Moving on to my pick, it was really difficult for me, to be honest, because I haven't played I know there are many bad survival horror games on Dreamcast, but I knew they were bad from the beginning, so I've never played them. So I've gone with something that basically just I couldn't get in with, and I know at least two of you like it, but that is D2.
Oh, D2?
Yeah, D2. Just couldn't get into it.
I've never really played much of it because it's I've got the Japanese version, and obviously it's all in Japanese, so I can't understand what's happening. I'm holding out to get an English language version, the American version, but it's so expensive now.
Yeah. I can understand that. I mean, it's kind of like loving like a bad movie that is not like a movie that was made to be bad, but it's just like it's got bad aspects, but you can tell that the person was trying for something. And, you know, I really love that game, and I can't, it's very difficult to explain my love for that game.
What I say, I love the look of the game, and it was like heavily featured in some of the unofficial, we didn't get it in Europe again, but in some of the unofficial Dreamcast magazines, I suppose they were like short on material, because there weren't too many games out yet, and they were covering it quite a lot, and it did look really good, the story looked good, and when you watch the videos, the voice acting isn't terrible, it's serviceable, it's pretty good, but the switching from like first person in battles and stuff, and you couldn't move while shooting, and then I was in a room, like the first room of the game, and I picked something up, and I had to watch like a 30-minute cutscene of her picking up an empty can of Coke or something, I can't remember. Or maybe I'm confusing that with I'm not sure. But yeah, I just couldn't get into it myself.
But the one thing that kind of always strikes me about D2 is that it was like really one of only, was it 2 games that Warp made for the Dreamcast? There was that one and Real Sound Winds of Regret, which is a game for the blind. A visual, I was going to say visual novel, but it's not. It's a novel without any visuals for blind people. And the interesting thing is that game came with a demo disc called D2 Shock, which is like a preview disc of the main game D2, but it was never released anywhere else other than with this game, this Real Sound.
Is that also for blind people?
No, it's no.
That's a good point.
So D2 Shock.
That's kind of insulting, isn't it? Oh yeah, thanks for playing this
I never thought
game
of it like
for the blind. Now try this new fantastic graphics animation game. Oh yeah, we forgot you're blind. Ha ha ha.
The thing is, it's got on this D2 Shock disc. There are modes in of D2 that they don't appear anywhere else on any other demo discs or anything. So there's a snowmobile level where you can ride around this like open world map collecting. I think they're like traffic cones or something, or different coloured things that you drive around in this snowmobile. It's quite funny because if you just drive into a tree or something, it like kind of flips over and she ends up like head first in the snow.
That's not in the main game. No, it's not in Snowmobile.
The racing around in cones is definitely not in the main game, but yeah, there's a snowmobile in the game.
Yeah, and there's also like a sort of a battle mode where you get to, it's like a sort of little snippet where you can get a feel of what the game's like. The segment that you play is where you're in a crashed plane and this stewardess turns into a big monster and you have to like shoot her with the gun. So I'm not sure if that's in the final game either, but yeah, D2 Shock is quite an oddity, just because it was released with that Real Sound Winds of Regret and nowhere else. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, well, thanks, Tom. Okay, moving on to the finale, our most favourite game. Again, starting with you, Tom. What is it?
Cool. You're gonna be able to tell what I'm gonna say.
I've got a feeling a few of us are gonna pick this one. I've got a feeling.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for Code Veronica. Is that what you thought I was going to pick?
It was.
Yeah, sorry to be so predictable. But yeah, just because it was, and it kind of breathed a breath of new life, didn't it, into the franchise with the new camera angles and the whole kind of 3D rendered world that we hadn't seen before in Resident Evil game. Obviously, I know things like Silent Hill and Dino Crisis had done it on the PlayStation, but yeah. I just thought that it was an incredible looking game. It was, I think, more than anything, it was the visuals that kind of hooked me. And not just that, but the character development that you didn't really kind of see in Resident Evil games before Code Veronica came, because it was all about, bad voice acting and, like, we know that this is a game and these characters are not really on the same level as, like, film actors, but you get the whole kind of psycho-esque Norman Bates kind of situation with the guy, and I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who's not played it, but the guy who lives in the manor, and then you find out certain things about him and his sister.
Alfred and Alexia, yeah.
It's really cool. I love the twists in the storyline, and
I enjoyed that.
Just a brilliant game. There were some things I didn't particularly like. I didn't like Steve. Is that his name? The guy that you can play as?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, he's a bit whiny. Yeah, he reminded me a bit of Leonardo DiCaprio. A younger DiCaprio. So I wasn't too keen on him, but for the most part, it's a brilliant game. And obviously, it got ported to other systems. GameCube, Xbox. Did it get Xbox?
No.
I don't know.
Well, 360, I think.
I don't think any Resident Evil games ever made it to the Xbox, if I'm honest.
No, that's a good point. But what I was trying to hint at was they got to the PS2, the GameCube, all that kind of thing with the X version. And I just thought it was a brilliant adventure game.
And the X version did actually come out for the Dreamcast, but only in Japan. Or if it wasn't, I think it was the same version, right?
Didn't somebody do an English language version recently and release it as a download? Yeah.
Okay, cheers, Tom. Caleb.
Well, Tom took mine, which should be no surprise. So I will throw my hat in the ring for a game that I personally always enjoyed, Death Crimson 2. Which is fun for me because you can just shoot random little bugs and bats, and the skeletons always look like crap in the Death Crimson games, which always makes me laugh.
Yeah, I think Aaron was talking about, wasn't it? You can record your own samples. I thought that was quite interesting. You can record your own death samples for when the character dies, was it?
Yeah. I remember you saying something about that. Yeah, I've never tried it myself, but that's quite interesting, yeah.
Death Crimson 2, of course, is in Japanese only, so it's very difficult for me to navigate those menus and to try to do any of that stuff, but I just enjoy it.
Was Death Crimson OX released in the States, or was that Japanese
Yes, it was.
only?
Death Crimson OX was released in the US.
And it was published by Sammy. I remember it's one of the few games that, and maybe it was just that, the only game Sammy did in America, leading up to them taking over Sega. But there you go. Lastly, not lastly, Mike, what is your favourite?
I'm going to have to say House of the Dead 2.
Nice choice.
Again, it's a bit fun. I'm not a big survival horror fan, so sort of nice bit of gore on screen and a bit of campy horror fun is always better for me.
One of the things that a lot of people kind of generally neglect to mention about House of the Dead 2 that is really, really good fun are the training missions.
Yeah.
The kind of almost ridiculous scenarios that it sets up for you. You've got boats going past, really fast with piles of boxes on them. You've got to shoot jumping frogs and things. It's insane, but it's really good fun.
So it's I like Type of the Dead as well. I would have picked Type of the Dead, but I've been speaking about it too much. House of the Dead is just the thing with House of the Dead and the light gun games on Dreamcast is that they're really simple. Obviously, it's harder to get them working now if everyone's got flat screen TVs, but it's worth just plugging it in old school into a CRT and blasting away.
Dogs of the AMS, time they made a move.
That was actually a really good impression, Caleb.
It's me, Goldman.
Don't come when we do these events. The House of the Dead 2 is always on the display because it always attracts a big crowd. Everyone loves it. It's just one of them games. You don't need any complex instructions. All you do is you pick up a gun and you point it at the screen and you shoot zombies. That's it. How basic can you get and how much fun can it be?
People of the AMS, I am Goldman.
Oh, we still got this, sorry. We're meeting G over there.
The thing that gets me about that is just how kind of, there's one level where you have to fight, I think it's called the Hierophant, the sort of the monster that comes out of the sea on the dock side.
5 heads. Oh, no, sorry, no. Oh, you're talking about the one with your stomach that opens up.
Yeah.
Like the pussy stomach thing.
Yeah. Not in those words, but yeah, You kind of you first see it when you break into this room and there's a TV on, and you look at the TV and it's there, there's obviously a helicopter kind of circling, taking images of this thing, and it's so if this whole epidemic is being broadcast to the world on the news, where's the military and the police and stuff? It's just
it's a well-known fact that military and police don't stand a chance against slow-moving zombies and fish people. If it was just the zombies or just the fish people, then it would be a different story. But since it's both, the modern military could not stand up against Goldman.
That's a very good point. Yeah, sorry, I'll retract my previous comment.
The military cannot defend against both zombies and fish people.
Thank you, Tom. Let's move on. Chris. what's your favorite? I'm guessing it's already been taken, but
No.
let's hear. What's your favorite? No. Oh, great, fantastic.
No, I'm gonna have to go ahead and defend D2.
Ah,
No, D2 definitely has its problems, but it's easily my favorite horror style game on the Dreamcast, and easily one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast. The combat, of course, is pretty bad. It switches to a first person view, only it's not really a first person view. It kind of plays more like a point and click style shooter than it does anything else. But the rest of the game I actually enjoy quite a bit, including the ridiculously long 30-minute cutscenes. So Kenji Eno, of course, is was a really strange developer of video games, which is probably why a lot of his games, the Warp games, are so beloved, especially the D trilogy. But I really like the storytelling in this game. I like how the main character, the digital actress, doesn't talk at all. And I find the fact that she doesn't talk kind of gives you a place in the story, because you can't talk to the characters, and, Laura doesn't talk to the characters in the game. And it really kind of creates this really immersive experience that I really enjoy. The graphics are, of course, pretty amazing for the Dreamcast, and I do like the environments. I'm not a big fan of like an open world style game, and these kind of claustrophobic little sections that you kind of are siloed through the entire game are fun to explore because they're not too big but not too small. The music in this game is really amazing, and something that's really unique for the Dreamcast, the voice acting is actually really good. The writing I find in the game is kind of lackluster, but the actors and actresses that they used in this game like took this mediocre writing and turned it into like some really compelling stories, really adult stories. The whole game is fairly mature, and when you kind of combine all of those things together, for me it makes for a really engaging experience, one that I like to revisit now and again. Just really, really solid. It has problems though, and I can see why it would be somebody's worst game for sure, but it's one that I really love.
Sorry, why do you like it? I'm joking. No, it is one of those games I've seen, and I keep wanting to play it and want to try it, but I couldn't do it. Maybe I'll give it another go someday. I know that the American version has a bit of censorship in it, doesn't it?
I think it's just the one little scene,
like
right?
tentacles in the mouth or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty much they cut away a little bit, so you can only see part of the screen. So
isn't there like a secret like sequence that you can get, and it shows you some footage from the original 3DO M2 version?
If there is, I am not aware.
I'm not aware of that either.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of secret video scene that's hidden on the disc somewhere that shows you stuff about the cancelled M2 version, when it was a different type of game.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, worth checking out. If just do a search, I think, on Google, and you'll find it, I'm sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You said the D trilogy, so D2, and what's that? Are you talking about the other Saturn game? What's her name? Is her name Lisa? Is that
Enemy
that
Unknown?
Enemy
Zero.
Oh, that's what you're talking about, as in the trilogy of D games.
Yep. Well, I don't know what you call it, the D trilogy, the Laura I don't know. I guess I've always just thought of it as the D trilogy, even though the second game is called Enemy Zero without questioning it.
Is the story related? Or?
No, she's like an actress, so it's like, Tom Hanks. Like, he is an actor in a bunch of different movies, so Laura's like a digital actress. She's a different character in 3 games, if that makes sense.
Ah, right. Well, I didn't know that. I found the information about the little hidden video clip. If you want me to read it, I've just looked at Wikipedia. I knew I'd read this somewhere, but I'm just going to read this out from Wikipedia. It says, in Japan, a version of D2 was packaged with another Warp-produced game, the Dreamcast remake of Sega Saturn title, Real Sound, No Regret, which is what we spoke about earlier. It says, this early preview of the game, known as D2 Shock Demo, features modified opening credits and heads-up display compared to the completed game. Additionally, it contains a save file that copies to the Dreamcast VMU and unlocks a secret movie in the retail Japanese version of D2. This movie is a preview of the shelved M2 version of D2. It was removed from the North American version, but can be briefly seen as an in-flight movie during the hijacking sequence, which is very interesting because I own, obviously, the Japanese version of D2 and also the D2 Shock Demo. So I'm going to, after this, have a look if I can find that movie on the Japanese version of D2.
It'll be on YouTube, won't it?
I'm sure it will be, but I'd like to find it myself. Because,
fair enough.
Kids these days.
Okay, moving on to finally me. Tom picked my favourite game that was Resident Evil Code Veronica. My backup was House of Dead 2 that Mike took, so I'm going to have to improvise and go with Zombie Revenge.
There is no. We don't have to pick different games. You realise that, don't you?
Oh, is it? Well, I've already won with it now. Would you want to backtrack? Would you edit this out? This is unprofessional.
No.
I'm embarrassed.
There will be no editing. Again, as I've said before, we will be completely unedited. So carry on.
All right, I'll try again. Yeah. So my favourite horror / Halloween / scary game for the Dreamcast is Zombie Revenge.
Is that right?
Wow.
Well, yeah. Just like that's actually set in the same universe as House of the Dead. You visit the Curian mansion at the end, and it shares a few similarities with House of the Dead. The sound effects and the dodgy voice acting.
I always found that game to be super hard. Like, I got past the electricity boss. I could never get past that guy.
I've completed the game, but I've played it both on the Dreamcast and on my Naomi cabinet. And
what did you call it?
Naomi.
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 I'm spelled backwards.
And, I really enjoyed the game, and especially it just felt right on an arcade cabinet. But when I get into a game in the arcade, I want to try to at least try. I rarely succeed, but I want to play it a few times and try to go for a 1cc or just see if I think I'd be capable of doing it if I practice. But that I just thought, no, there's no way you could ever 1cc this game. There's some of the boss buttons, especially the final one, unless there was something I was missing, it just seemed impossible. But anyway, it was an enjoyable little romp of some nice, interesting weapons. Like they've got the the pumping. What is it? What is that thing?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Pumping,
I don't know if we're talking about the same game anymore.
Yeah. What film is it in? It's in Dusk Till Dawn. He's got do you remember that character's got
not the codpiece with a gun on it.
No. The main character, George Clooney, he's got some. What does he mean? It's like a pneumatic drill that he's put something on the end of. No, am I?
Or like a digger thing, like a jack,
a
jackhammer thing.
Whether I'm imagining it was in the film or not, that weapon, the weapon from my imagination, that is actually in Zombie Revenge at one point, and that's fun to use. The pumping thing. Drill thing, yeah.
The jackhammer, you mean?
Is it just a jackhammer? Is it just a jackhammer?
They do roadworks with and dig up the road.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Ross,
yeah.
what are you on about?
Well, I swear it was modified a bit. Didn't he modify it a bit and put he put a stake on the end, didn't he?
A wooden stake, yeah.
There's something like that in Zombie Revenge, and a host of other weapons. The 3 characters, both cool, especially the guy with the afro. I liked him. Just a good fun romp, especially with 2 players.
That's an interesting point. How many other afros are there in Dreamcast games? Because there's Afro Thunder.
Yeah.
And there's him.
And there's
there's got to be somebody in Vigilante 8 with an afro.
There is.
It's kind of set like a 70s kind of vibe, isn't it? Is there?
I want to say there's a
wave.
There's a jet ski game with somebody with an afro. I want to say
what coming out from underneath the helmet.
Maybe I'm thinking of I don't know.
So Pocket Race.
There's another one. I'm sure.
There's got to be more afros. Oh, no. I was thinking of Tom from Shenmue, but he's got dreadlocks and he's not an afro.
Oh no!
Yeah, the guy he works with
in Shenmue. The guy, what's his name? It's not really an afro. It's not a proper
Mark.
afro. Yeah, what's his
name?
He's
Mark. Mark is called
Mark. Mark. Oh, good old Mark. Remember him well.
On that What Shenmue disc where you have them rolling sort of facial animation demos, there is one with Mark, and it's absolutely terrifying just because of how his face is modelled. It's really creepy. I'll try and get a video together of it and put it up on the Junkyard. But yeah, it's terrifying. So look out for that.
I'm pretty sure one of the main characters in Virtua Athlete, or it's not called Virtua Athlete on Dreamcast. It is called Virtua Athlete, isn't it? Yeah, I'm sure there's an afro. One of the main characters, and that's got an afro as well. A big buff guy.
Yeah,
enough afros. I think that brings us to the end of the show. Doesn't it? Is there anything else we'd like to add or mention?
Not really, no. There was one little thing on the thing that we were going to chat about, but I don't think we'll bother now.
No, I don't think so either. Okay, one sentence. Nintendo Switch. Tom.
One sentence?
One sentence.
iPad with controllers.
Oh, okay. Caleb.
Thumb cramps.
Mike.
More money to spend.
Chris?
Successful.
Successful.
Can I change mine to death of
no editing.
The console concept as we've known it since we were children?
No change.
Okay.
No change. No take backs. No take backs.
It's going to be good for kids. It's going to be good for the kids.
Yeah, I'll buy anything with Nintendo games on, but I have to say, overrated so far. I think overrated. Okay, let's finish it there. Does anyone have any final? What do we call it? Tom, I'm tired there. It's like almost midnight. Plugs? Any plugs? Any plugs?
Yeah,
Tom?
any plugs? First of all, I just want to say massive thank you to Chris for joining us. Is it morning time where you are?
It is, yeah. I woke up at 6 a.m.
You sound very fresh.
That's dedication.
Got my coffee. Life is good. Thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. I've listened to the podcast. I'm a fan. It's awesome to be here and and talk to everyone.
It's been great having you. Hopefully you don't think it's too unprofessional. It is, but we try to mask that sometimes.
Tom does a better job at masking it, I think.
That's because I'm usually drunk when I do the podcast, but not this time. I've not really got anything to plug other than the fact that this is obviously the Dreamcast Junkyard DreamPod. You can find more Dreamcast related stuff at www.thedreamcastjunkyard.co.uk. Also on Facebook at facebook.com/The Dreamcast Junkyard. We also have a group which is attached to the page, so just scroll down, you'll see a group. Click on that, join the group. Get involved with the discussion. Sometimes it's friendly, sometimes it's not so friendly. But get involved and share some pictures and tales of your Dreamcast adventures. It's all good fun. We can all be found individually on Twitter and on Facebook, so feel free to get in touch. I can be found at Tom Lee C. The main Dreamcast Junkyard Twitter is at the DC Junkyard. Mike, you're on Twitter at
space_turnip.
Caleb, you're on YouTube at
Blandco. Blandco.
Ross, you are on Facebook as Ross O'Reilly.
You can find me in the group.
And once again, massive thanks to Chris for joining us. You can be found on the internet at implantgames.com. Anything else you want to plug?
Yeah, definitely check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/implantgames, and I am also on Twitter at implant.
And also you have your own podcast, I believe.
I do, the Implant Games podcast.
Oh my god, Uwe Boll retired?
Oh, you found it, yes.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's been the DreamPod episode 41. Thank you very much for listening, and we will see you again on the next one. Everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Crazy money, are you ready? Here we go!
Please stop this disc now.